going on, fellow Geronimo 22? We are back with another preview of the next playbook coming up here. It's going to be the Jim Schwartz 4-3 wide 9 defense. 4-3 wide 9 defense, man. I'm excited to do this for multiple reasons. I worked with Jim Schwartz for one season. All right, had the privilege of doing that in Buffalo back in 2014, and after that, I was able to watch his defense with the Eagles, and I really have a good feel for what he likes to do. Now, the wide 9 defense is known for its pass rushing abilities, right? Putting your defensive edge guys in that wide 9 positioning. I'll tell some stories on that later, but really the bad rap that the defense gets is that it's not good versus the run. That's what most people who don't understand the defense thinks. But really, it is a good run-stopping defense as long as you teach it the right way. Now, in the Madden world, we're going to have to make some adjustments to make that realistic, but we'll talk about that more later when we get into the actual book. But in general, Jim Schwartz and his background, let's talk about that. Really, he started with the Belichick tree back in the early 90s. He was one of those first guys who was on the air, at that little place that they lived by, the airport, with Mangini and Saban and a whole bunch of other good defensive coaches. Then when they left, when Belichick left the Cleveland Browns and the team was, uprooted in a sense, then Jim Schwartz stayed with the original team and went with Marvin Lewis, with the Ravens, and was in Baltimore in the early stages of that. Then he quickly got a position with the Titans and became the coordinator for about 7 years. Now, when he was with the Titans, they ran this system. They created this system. And the system was based off of having 4 down linemen, but putting those edge guys, for the most part, in wide 9 techniques. Now, the interior guys, your defensive tackles, they also got a lot of one-on-one blocks because they were in, a lot of times, 3 techniques. So just if you don't know, 3 technique usually doesn't get double teamed as much as somebody that's in the interior, 1 technique. So you would get more single blocks on those guys as well. So your defensive line really were able to be great pass rushers and focus on that. Now your linebackers in the system, they need to be ready to fit their gaps in the interior. They'll call what we call one-back gap fitters. And then that also includes a lot of times the safety coming down to the box. So going back to how he plays his defense and his style of defense, and if it matches up with what you like, he likes to have a lot of single high defenses. So we're talking about cover 1 rat in the hole. That's what his favorite coverage. Again, that came from the Bill Belichick era. He calls it cover 1 cut. All right. And then after that, his split safety coverage that he likes is cover 6. Match principles. So a lot of people give a lot of credit to Fangio, who, they learned a lot about match from Fangio, and obviously Saban and Belichick, they run a lot of match quarter systems. But a lot of people were running match quarter systems in the NFL in the 2000s as well. So he really ran into what he likes, the cover 6 system. He likes having that cover 2 side to the single receiver, to the X receiver as we call it. And then after that, the cover 3 part of his defense requires a small story. So when he came over to Buffalo and he was the coordinator there for 1 year, about half of our defensive staff went with them to Cleveland, and the other half stayed. So I was one of the people that stayed in Buffalo. He came over and asked me to do a study, as being the assistant DB coach, asked me to do a study on how the Seattle Seahawks were playing their cover 3 match. Because when he was in Detroit, that was the one thing he said he didn't really like, was playing so much zone drop cover 3. He really liked the idea of playing match. So we did a study. We realized that basically that the defense that Seattle was running was very similar to how we ran it already with Mike and the year before. So our DBs were accustomed to playing match cover 3. So we basically installed that type of system into his defense for the first time ever. So the wide 9 welcomed match cover 3 into the system, which wasn't part of the system before. So now you had basically a cover 1 system, you had your cover 3 system, you had your quarters based out of cover 6 as his go-to, and then on third down, his favorite thing to do was to play cover 2. So that was the only thing that was new to our DBs. We didn't play a lot of Tampa 2 at that time. But on third and long, it was fine because really the passes were predictable and the corners can play it appropriately and everybody was in a pass mentality. We didn't have to worry about the run so much. Now, another thing about the Schwartz system in general is his love of bringing single linebacker pressure or single safety pressure. So that's what it's based off of when it comes to the cover 1 system, not just playing cover 1 cut or cover 1 in the hole or in Madden cover 1 hole. He would also like to bring, a safety blitz, bring 1 guy coming, 2 guys coming, little things like that. Wasn't really huge on a lot of the zone pressures that you would see where 2 guys are coming and dropping a D end into coverage. He actually preferred to keep that pressure on. Now, one other thing that was really unique to his defense is the use of using cover 2 with the zone pressures or calling cover 2 invert. Right, so that's a new thing that came in Madden 2 years ago is that cover 2 inverts in the game. So you can show that single high look but play cover 2. So overall, it's a really good defense if you really want to get some good pressures. He does have a lot of good third down pressures as well that fall back into that cover 1 family that I always talk about, where if you run a defense kind of like Wade Phillips or Mike Pettin, you need to be able to bring some cover 1 blitzes that attack the protections. So he was very smart. He knew how to do that. So this defense overall, man, is just almost similar to what Wade did, but it's out of the 4-3 system. So if you were interested in that Wade Phillips defense, but yet you run a 4-3 like I do, you may want to run this system, all right? I think it's also really easy to find these type of players if you guys are using CFM drafts and all that stuff. I think you can. It's easier to convert players into a 4-3 system than the other way around. All right. So take a look at this thing, man. I think you're gonna like it. I'm gonna watch the game this weekend. They're playing against the 49ers, the Browns versus the 49ers. So that'd be really good. And we get a chance to see 2 defenses that run the same system, really, because the 49ers went to a wide 9 defense in Salah's second year, mainly because Chris Kusarich, the D-line coach, he coached under Jim Schwartz, and that's where he got his start, was in Detroit back in 2009. So he basically brought the Jim Schwartz system from the front standpoint to San Francisco and was allowed to install it in that second year that Shanahan was there. So just wanted to kind of talk about this system. I think it's something that not a lot of people use. And also just one last thing is that just because it's the wide 9 in Madden, we will be using other fronts though that are not wide 9, because against all beliefs, some people think that the wide 9 defense is always in that wide alignment. That's not true. He actually does align in normal overs and unders and things of that nature. And again, it's adaptable to what the offense is doing. So we will have some other fronts besides just the wide front. All right. And that helps us because in Madden, the wide front is good versus a lot, but not good versus everything. All right. So we'll get that done here in the next couple of weeks. If you guys have any questions, you guys want to talk about it in the comments, let me know. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace.